Hey everyone, I'm back with a fun mixed media layout here. I began the layout with just the idea of white on white on white with a black and white photo. It does take a little bit of a turn, as you've probably seen from the thumbnail photo, and it goes differently. But I figured this would be a nice little video to share with you, one from the early part of the year, the archives, and I've pulled it out to edit and voice over it now that I've got a bit of time and some mojo happening. So I'm just cutting my that's my cardstock down, so it's a 9x12 layout. Sorry about that pink washi up the top. I was trying to make sure I was in frame, and I don't know why I do that, because it really, it stuffs me up a little. It doesn't like it. I really get it wrong when I have it there. So anyway, that doesn't appear, I don't think, in any other videos. Maybe it's probably only this one. And the lighting's a bit off a few of the times. So anyway, I will stop making excuses and tell you what I'm doing, because I actually really like this layout. So I'm just using this Tim Holtz crosses kind of stencil, and just basically simple as white modeling paste. Like I said, I wanted white on white. I've just done it in 3 little spots. I thought it'd be nice to put my photo in the middle there. And I'm just going to use some white ink here. So this is Liquitex ink, and I'm just putting some big spots and some little splatters in a few spots. Now, this is not obviously very easy to see on the screen. However, in real life, it's a nice little bit of texture here, there, and everywhere. Now, this takes a little bit longer to dry, and obviously is quite wet. But I just move it to the side, and I'm going to work on my photo layers and the rest of what's happening on the layout before I come back and work on the mixed media going on. So I've pulled out a few things. So here's some vellum and some white tulle. I'm going to start by layering just a full mat of vellum behind the photo. Not a huge layer, but just a nice full mat around the photo. I have kept in that white border just to add that little bit of extra white as well, and to frame the photo. So on goes some tulle as well. I just really like tulle. Is just one of those things that doesn't stand out so much that it hurts your eyes when you're looking at a page, but it is something that adds so much texture. It just makes you want to touch the layout and enjoy what's going on. It adds beautiful texture and, I think, thickness to the layers behind it. It's not hugely thick, but it just adds that bulk, I guess. So white cardstock, because you can never go wrong with a bit of white cardstock when you're thinking about white on white on white. And then you just seen that little roll of paper come to the side, which is greaseproof wax paper, kind of like glassine bag kind of paper like that. So I'm just going to fold it. It actually is really terrible cheap stuff that doesn't work for cooking. So it ended up in my craft room, much to my pleasure. So I'm going to layer it with these 2 layers of this paper, but I'm not cutting them together because I want them both a little bit, the lower layer bigger than the top layer. Otherwise, it doesn't look as layered as it would if you just cut both those the same. So I'm going to use that ripped edge on the bottom, but just make sure it's ripped enough to my liking. And just going to play with it here to make sure it's where I want. It all curls around, but it's alright. We get there in the end. And the good thing about layering like this is that you can cheat and add staples in the middle, hold it all together, rather than fight with your double-sided tape or your ATG roller or glue, any type of glue. It's much easier if you use your stapler. Doesn't have to be a tiny attacher, but that's just what I have. You can see here I'm being a little bit pedantic about where they're going. I guess it looks a bit longer than my normal layering just because of the way it's curling up and the way all the textures that are going on. So adding 20 million staples, aka 4, but more than I probably normally would because it is rolling around. So I'm going to stick it to the page here. I'm just going to firstly wipe up the bulk of these ink. So it's sat long enough that the bottom layer has dried. So when you dab it up like this, it gives a nice texture to those splatters rather than them being shiny kind of bubbles that have dried. turning it around, because you can never, you should always check when you're making a mixed media layout. It's not always the right way when you've made it. It might need to be turned around, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think that makes it the fun of working out what's going on. So, pulled out some purple tulle. Now, this is just on a roll that I got from a cheap shop, and it's really thinner than tulle, so it's probably not even really tulle. It's really thin and very pliable and flexible, so it works much different. It doesn't look as bulky and it's not as harsh to touch. So I'm going to work out exactly where I want this purple tulle to go. I'm going to make some ruffles, or one ruffle I should say, but I wanted to make sure it was where it needed to be. I didn't want to muck around with putting it down and taking it up. I'm using some really thin double-sided tape because I'd run out of my normal size. So I have added 2 strips here, and I'm just folding it and ruffling it and putting it down. So it's nothing much to it. There's just pretty much, you really just fold it so there's a crease in it like a loop. So it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and the closer you make it, the more ruffled it looks. You can make it further apart with the up and down mountain kind of part. Just have a play with it. It's really a lot of fun. It is just double-sided tape and tulle, so you can lift it up and try again if you're not liking the way it's sitting. But I just find it so much fun. You can do it with crepe paper as well, but with crepe paper, obviously it sticks a lot easier and tends to rip if you are picking it up, but it's not impossible to pull off again if you aren't happy with what's going on. So definitely just have a play. I really like that little ruffle of crepe paper or tulle, or you could even do it with that glassine kind of paper, tissue paper. I've done it with plastic packaging as well. It's just anything you can fold and anything that you can make stick will work. It would be so fun to do. Ah, yes. Okay, I know what I'm creating tomorrow. Just had a brilliant idea. Anyway, well, hopefully you never know when things come out of your brain onto a page. It might not be brilliant as it seems in your head. So I just pulled some embroidery thread, some purple, and just pulled the strands apart. So if you know about embroidery thread, it is 6 strands of that cotton, twined together to be that thick for embroidery, but you can pull it apart so it's like normal thickness that you would get for using in the sewing machine, for example, or into a needle. So I found these white thickers in my stash. Actually, everything here is from my stash, hence the title, Stash Busting. And oh my god, I play with these thickers too much. So I pulled out a star, and I wondered whether I wanted to colour them purple with the spray mist. Now they are foam thickers, so they do colour, but the colour isn't so bold or consistent. It's one of those different kind of a look. So I don't end up doing the title in that purple, but I do know there's other products I could have used and mucked around with if I felt like it needed it in the end. Instead, I realised that having the spray mist out, I wanted to water it down here on some packaging and add it on the page with the packaging technique. So drizzle it down first is usually how I do it, because I end up putting so much product on my plastic, and then I just smush it down using that plastic and spread it a bit. So just going to make sure my table's clean, because it's newish table and it's remaining clean, so I just want to wipe it down every now and then. Pulling off the top layer of colour, which leaves this nice little soaked in muted colour. Muted colour, did I say it right? And I think that's just nicer because the purples aren't so harsh in what I'm using so far. And it just needed to be pulled back a little. So definitely if you are wanting a brighter colour, leave it there to dry. If you're wanting something lighter, then dab it up with some paper towel. If you're still not liking the, what's happened, if you need to lighten it, put over some gesso, and it will bring that colour back so that it's not overwhelming. So I'm going to add my photo on some fun foam. That also just helps with lifting it off that tulle as well, and add that nice little pop of dimension and texture rather than being flat. I think flat on the layout is something I am not accustomed to with my layouts. I do see people do it, and it's pretty I'm often like, wow, I wish like I could have a bit of restraint and do that because it looks so nice. But for me, I just need to have I need to have that texture. I just can't even live without it. So I've just stuck on the photo layers. For some, like, it's unusual that I wouldn't add my photo to the layers before I put it onto the layout, but for some reason today that's how it happened. So just adding the photo now to the photo mat. I think that I don't know. It's probably one of those days where things just happen differently, as they often do. Now I have so much. Oh my gosh, it took me forever to get these off because they're foam, they stretch a bit more, and I broke the letter here, but I could get it back together, that's not a problem, but they were stuck to the paper. They're probably a bit older than they need to be and need to be used, but it was just so much effort, and I show you a bit, but I really do cut out so much. But I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that if you rip them, they can go back together. Don't be disheartened by it. You can also with thickers cut them and reshape to make different letters if you are missing certain letters. And I've also, with the phrase stickers like this one here, have cut off letters or changed it. So I know I cut an S off one of them because I was like, I'm probably most likely not going to use that word, and I put that S onto the end of a different phrase on the same stickers, so that way I still had the same font but was able to add that S because there was obviously more than one of whatever word I was spelling. And other times sometimes you can say, like, it might be it's real, or the real life might be the phrase that you see on the packet, and that's how it's intended to be used. But you could pull off the real and then use some other thickers or a different word on the sheet to make a different title. So the real me or something like that, if that even makes sense. Anyway, pulled out a purple biro, and I'm just doing a double line doodly border. I did start with one, so I had to go back and do a second line on that one. Just adding some X's just to bring in the X's of the modelling paste in the background as well. And here's where we get to have some fun with embellishing. So you can see already that it's not overwhelming. There's not too much craziness going on. So in my mind, I'm thinking I don't need too much to overwhelm it. I want to keep it the purple and white. I don't want to muck around too much. But white's not one of those things that normally embellishments come in. But I do add this pop of black. It just, there's black in the photo, so it's not like it's horrific. But these little crosses on the Maggie Holmes sticker book just go well together. I did start them as crosses and then I changed them to pluses. I think that just makes them stand out as different to the modelling paste, which is crosses, but not in a like, oh, look at me kind of way, but just as a, oh, I'm different. Don't judge me as the same kind of thing, because all embellishments talk like that apparently. And that's all their, deep-seated emotions coming out, insecurities coming out. Anyway, I ramble. It's 11 o'clock at night, and this is not even probably, it is the 6th voiceover for today, and luckily I'm pretty sure this is the first one that's getting a bit rambly and crazy and wild it's definitely the first one talking about embellishments, feelings. So I'm going to add some word stickers, and that is just going to pretty much finish it off. I do fiddle around a bit here and there, but I do make some vital changes, so I have kept it in for you. Sometimes I will edit out and say, okay, I did move a word sticker around here, but here's the finished product. So I'm just having to play with the ones that obviously appeal, and I'm cutting this one up so that it's 2 lines of journaling up the top here. No, I didn't. I pulled off some of the words. When I was editing, I really thought I was cutting the phrase in half. So I've added some journaling here with my purple pen and have underlined it. Or did I write in black pen and underline it with purple? Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what I did. Wrote in black, underlined it with purple. And I just am going to move some of those words from under the word happy. I do pick up those dots that I'm about to squish, so I figured if I use the paper towel, then I'm not going to ruin them. Add an extra line to the doodly border. I just felt like it wasn't thick enough and standing out enough. And then that means that I have to go over the crosses, because obviously that brought them into the background rather on top of the doodly border. And yeah. Oh, I drew a border with the black. I don't know why I'm telling you, because you're watching this and going, what are you talking about, Lauren? You're not doing that. Anyway, so moving those word stickers there to go under the journaling rather than under the happy, because that just went with the flow of the tulle. And that one, that looked really good. Why are you taking off, woman? Oh, if you keep moving them, they're not going to stick, and you're just going to end up throwing them in the bin and mucking around. So adding another heart down here. These hearts are awesome. They're from Flutterby Designs. And they are the perfect colours, the perfect sizes, a few different sizes in each of the colour. And oh my gosh, you need 20 packets each. Everyone needs to go out and get them. So just finishing off using all the purple. It sucks to use all the colour of one thing, I think, especially when it's a lovely colour. Anyway, here is the close-up, and I hope you enjoyed this process, rambling at all. Definitely like and subscribe if you want to see some more of my style, and I will catch you next time. Bye.